Welcome back, watchers. I'm Kelly Appel.
And I'm Katie Staressett, and we are watching Out Loud. Be sure to like, comment, share this video link, subscribe to our channel, and click on that little bell icon to get notified anytime we do anything sick as hell on YouTube.
I already see we have people, so I just want to say hi.
Hi, Hannah, and George, and Robbie.
Yeah,
Gang's all here.
And Hannah, we will do our best to keep Marky Mark away from the Asian markets.
We're committed to keeping him away from the Asian markets.
We didn't tell him where they were. We lied. We were like...
You have our word. Oh, and the dragon's here. We're being hosted on Twitch right now. I don't know what that means.
Does that mean
I don't know what that means.
He's sharing it?
Yes, smash that like button.
4 million viewers. Wow.
God, my nose is so itchy right now, guys. I'm not picking it.
Quit picking your
I'm
nose!
Here for the Twitch rate.
Katie's not picking your nose.
I'm wiping my nose with George's Village People shirt.
I was gonna say, wow, that's a really gay shirt, and then you lifted it up to show Village People.
It sure is, and it belongs to my gay-ass husband.
Katie wasn't picking her nose because she actually eats her boogers, so...
Yeah, I'm saving that for later.
Well, anyway. Anywho... When you give me health insurance, workers' comp, and a 401k, then you can tell me when I work.
And that's directed to Robbie for continuously badgering us to put up full episodes. No, that's just a quote from Anora, the film we are discussing this week. So when did we actually watch this film together. For the first time when you visited Raleigh, and that was really fun.
Yeah, I think it was really fun. We made it like a fun little movie thing.
Yeah, we made like I have this like day bed that turns into like a king size bed that we can just then turn into a pit in my like tower. It's an attic converted into a pink painted room. It's made for the girls, and so we just had a whole. It was like a movie day, and then we watched a bunch of the rehearsal.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big week for me because now I'm a big Nathan Fielder girl. Thanks to you.
Didn't we watch that also? That clip from I think it's Steven dropped in the chat. John Wilkes, that John Wilkes show that's produced by Nathan Fielder. Because Steven told us to watch an episode about the guy who was trying to grow back his foreskin by pulling his penis.
Okay, that doesn't sound familiar, and I feel like I'd remember that.
And then we switched. I think you did. I think I was like, "What if we watched rehearsal instead?" Because I think
I think that might have been
it. John Wilson. We watched that, and then I was like, "I think this might be a little too weird. How about this other autistic?"
Yeah, and it was perfect. I loved it.
It was not John Wilkes Booth. It was John Wilson, and
it
is a good show, and it's produced by Nathan, who does Nathan For You and Rehearsal. Mm-hmm. But I'm so glad you liked Rehearsal because it
was so good.
It's so good.
It was very important for me, as I know it was for you.
Yeah, it was transcendent. That's the word.
Transcendent experience. Yes, John Wilson killed Abe Lincoln, Hannah. That is correct. John Wilkes Booth, history lessons with watching out loud. But yeah, when we watched Anora, I think we were both, at least I was surprised at how funny it was. I don't think I looked up the genre.
We didn't do that at all. We just kind of were like, this is it. Because we had planned to watch this all the way back in season 2.
Last year. The episode that came out on Tuesday, Cruel Intentions, that was recorded over a year ago, our sign-off quote was an Anora quote. So that was supposed to come after Cruel Intentions. And now we're here all these years later. We decided to link it to Perfect Blue because it works out in our heads.
It does. I think Perfect Blue.
What's that? Sorry, the chat's just confusing me now. What is all this second date shit? Sorry.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Trying to get in on what this debate between Hannah and Robbie is.
Oh, he said showing women John Wilson was a go-to second date move for me for a while. Okay, I get it. And then Hannah's
Okay.
trying to follow up with saying how many of those became third dates after showing
That's a good
this
question.
extremely
Answer the
awkward
question,
autistic
Robbie.
man show.
It sounds like you have Hannah, good one. But yeah, I think that yeah, it was a pleasant. I think like I expected to like it, but I don't think I expected to like it as much as I did.
Yeah.
And then watching it a second time, I liked it even more. And I didn't watch it with George the second time. So I'm gonna have to watch it again. And and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I kind of was like, I don't really want to watch it again because it's so
I know, I felt that
long.
way too. Just because we've done so many long movies lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I rewatched it today and I was like, oh, actually, I do really enjoy this movie. Like,
And it kind
a
of
lot.
flies.
So yeah, it
Like,
does
it
go
moves
pretty
really
quick.
fast.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
like when. I mean, once it gets to the point where they're like married too, especially, I feel like everything after that point kind of like hyperdrive. So
Yeah, which is like, it's only what, just about halfway through that they get married, maybe a little before halfway, and yeah, it just flies.
Yep.
Now, is knockout ending what happens at the end of the second date, Robbie, or is that in reference to Anora?
I think it's in reference to Anora.
Because I agree, it's
It
a
is
really
a
good
good
ending.
ending.
I think
Yeah.
it's a
I
beautiful,
love
beautiful
Igor.
ending.
I love Igor.
Yeah, Igor, we're the girlies for
Igor's
Igor for sure. Yeah, Anora the movie moves really fast, much like Anora the person.
She moves fast and
Hannah
she
with the
talks
jokes.
fast.
Well, yeah, let's get into it. Directed by Sean Baker, starring a lot of Russian and Armenian names, so bear with us. Starring Mikey Madison as Anora or Annie, Mark Eidelstein as Ivan or Vanya, Yura Borisov as Igor, Karin Karagulian as Toros. That was decent.
Suka.
Vachi Dovmasian as Garnick, and then a bunch of others that we'll just refer to their characters. Those were our mains. Those were our mains.
This movie won a ton of awards. So, Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Original Screenplay, Best Directing, Best Film Editing, and other stuff. So I think if we want to draw the correlation between Anora and Perfect Blue, we really see Mickey is like an up and coming actress. This is like her first big role, and kind of portraying maybe like a less, and I'm saying this like, but like a less desirable person. You know, she's a sex worker and all this stuff, and
yeah,
it's kind of like everything I've seen it described as is like a modern day Cinderella, which I think is kind of loud. She, she showed tits and she got an Academy Award. So
she also did a really good job acting.
She did, and I don't want to. No, and I definitely don't want to diminish that. But she did show a lot of her tits.
Yeah.
We did see Igor butt too, and not Igor,
Vanya, Ivan.
Yeah, we saw Vanya butt, and he didn't win any awards. So
yeah, that is true. Maybe if we didn't see his hole, like you almost saw his hole, like when he did that backflip onto the bed.
Want to see?
You looked away.
Yeah, I was like, a little scrawny.
I was just shocked that it almost got to hole.
Scrawny little 20-year-old guy butthole. Yeah.
No thanks. But yeah, so it was. Sorry, dig into those fun facts I got from a nice BuzzFeed list.
Thanks, BuzzFeed.
The reputable BuzzFeed.
So Sean Baker and Karin Karagulian.
Yeah, the guy that played Toros.
The guy who played Toros are longtime friends that wanted to make a movie about Russian American community in Bright Beach for almost 20 years. So that's pretty cool. 20 years in the making, and they did a great job. Mickey and Yura's character. Yura?
Yeah, Yura.
Karin were all cast before Sean Baker actually wrote the screenplay, so he basically did help form the characters and stories around the actors, which is probably why they all ate the role so well.
Yeah, for sure.
Mickey learned Russian for her role, and Yura learned English for his role. What is Mickey Madsen's ethnicity? Because I thought she was Russian. because she kind of vaguely looks Asian and Russian.
Mm.
Russians are like technically a type of Asian. It's not
Well,
important. I just thought she was.
I think first, is it Mickey or Mikey? Because Wikipedia says Mikey.
Oh, I thought it was Mickey. Okay, Mikey.
Mikey Madison Roseberg. So let's see.
Roseberg?
I'm probably gonna.
That sounds Jewish.
Yeah, it does sound Jewish. I'm probably gonna get like flashed by Wikipedia right now.
Flashbang incoming.
Oh no, I turned it on dark mode. I did good. She is her parents are psychologists, specialized in schizophrenia.
Oh, no kidding.
Sorry. Born in Los Angeles. It doesn't say shit. Okay. Madison is Jewish and was raised in a secular household.
That makes sense. Her last name sounds Jewish, but she just looks very ethnically like ambiguous. She kind of looks Asian.
Yeah.
So I thought she was Russian. Whatever. It doesn't matter. She did a good job.
Yeah, she did a good job.
For the role, she researched sex work, visited strip clubs, and worked with the dancer Kennedy Schneider, who taught her how to pole dance, twerk, and club chat, etc., which you see a lot in the beginning of the film, which I don't know if you guys... Yeah, that's what Katie Googled.
Basically, yeah.
I don't know if you guys...
No, I have more class than that.
Is she Russian? I don't know if you guys have ever tried pole dancing. It's incredibly hard. Dancers have extremely strong upper bodies because it is hard. Mikey improvised the "me go fuck myself, you go fuck yourself" in your fucking motherfucker line, which is great. It's kind of giving Joe Pesci.
Oh yeah, a little bit. She also, I don't think I added this, was she came up with the idea that Annie would perform a dance for Vanya at his house, and she actually choreographed it. I maybe was her instructor, but she was like a part of choreographing it and stuff. So yeah, she put it all into the research for this film.
There's no question of that. I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood still.
I saw it once. She was one of the main Manson girls that got wrecked.
Doesn't that have
Quentin
Tarantino's and Brad Pitt? That's right, I haven't seen it yet. And Quentin
and
Tarantino.
A lot of young women, and then like Lena Dunham. It's like so many young women and Lena Dunham.
Okay.
Lena Dunham's like a lot in like social media and pop culture.
Well, she also just came out with a new like memoir, so she's kind of like very relevant right now. Actually.
She needs to stop doing memoirs. She's a good television writer, but she's got to stop. She's got to stop talking about herself.
You cannot shit on Girls. Girls is a great show.
Girls is a great show. I really liked the show Too Much that came out early 2025 or something. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Robbie fucks with Lena. That's good. It's good.
But yeah,
I think it's very easy to hate on Lena.
I think it is.
Lena Dunham.
Yeah, I think she kind of does it to herself because she.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned this before. Like I remember people gave her criticism for like there being like no POC on Girls, and she's like, "Well, I don't have black friends." It's like that's like so irrelevant, girl. Like I understand it was semi-autobiographical, but but there's lines in Girls that are fucking Shakespeare could never write that shit. Like she could do what Shakespeare did, but he could never do what Lena Dunham did. Hi, Kyle.
That's very true. And I think that works. That segues nicely into Anora, just women's stories that Shakespeare could never tell. So we're going to dig into the plot, and we'll kind of talk about shit as we're just kind of talking about the movie. So I know that we have some people in the chat that have not seen the movie before. We're about to spoil the shit out of it. We hope you don't go. But it's also a good movie, so we kind of get it. Yeah, mute us and just keep talking in the chat. Yeah. Just talk about whatever you want in the chat.
Talk about your planes today, Kyle. What plane did you get today?
All right. So Anora is a dark comedy drama that follows a sort of whirlwind, almost but not really, romance between a Brooklyn sex worker who marries a Russian oligarch's son. The movie starts with the song Greatest Day of Our Lives by Take That, which if you follow us on Instagram, you're going to get so fucking annoyed with it, with how much I put it on our story, because I think it's so funny that the film opens with this song. It's just so like, we're young and this is great and life is cool and we're free and all that sort of shit.
Young,
It's
dumb,
just
and full of
beautifully
cum.
ironic. Bought a tiny new plane. That's nice.
Kyle loves planes,
Anyway.
but he's not autistic, just for the record. He just loves planes.
Well, you don't have to be. You don't have to. All right, Santa Cruz loser, pull back. You're good. You're good. All right.
Our mod.
Yeah, our mod needs to be modded. Okay. So and then it cuts off to showing what a regular shift for Annie is at the club, just talking with friends, smoking a vape, looking for marks or whatever. But then she meets the super wealthy Yvonne, who she gives special attention to for the night because she is basically assigned to him as a Russian speaker. Kelly, yes, you're raising your hand.
I just wanted to say I really like that scene because I think it highlights how hard it is to be an exotic dancer, because it is
absolutely
1,000% customer service with your tits out, which is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that part where she's talking to her friend and they're like talking back and forth about I don't know, would these still be referred to as Johns? But they're clients, I guess. And she's like, one guy said I look like his 18-year-old daughter. So they're kind of like laughing about it. And so it's like that camaraderie to have with other girls in the club is super critical, because then you also see the opposite of that, which is, what is it, Diamond, who's like Anora's op. Who just got mad at her for giving a lap dance to one of her regulars, which is like,
and like really bad extensions.
Yeah, Diamond's busted.
Diamond's busted. Was it? I think Lulu was Annie's friend. So shout out to Lulu. She was a ride or die.
Yeah, she was.
So no, absolutely. Interject whenever. So she's hanging out with Yvonne. He's basically like he's definitely of age, but he's acting like he's basically like a teenager because he's so rich, so he doesn't have to be an adult. But he seems like he's really like enamored by Annie, and so he asks if she works outside of the club, i.e. sex for pay. So she like gives him her phone number, but then she leaves the club super late night, early morning, makeup and hair tinsel free, and then travels from Manhattan, where the club is, all the way to her home in Brooklyn. So it's very like the glamour of the club is gone, and we kind of see how much this is like a working class gig. And later that day, after she sleeps, does her thing, she goes to Yvonne's house and he buys an hour of her time. They have like 15 minutes of sex.
If that.
So, yeah, if that. And then he literally, that's when he does the backflip naked and you almost see holes. So it's just kind of like, he's like a child. It's really weird and uncomfortable.
He's
and so
literally
he seems
like, Yahoo! I had sex!
Yeah, exactly. And so he's so disarming, and he just jokes around all the time, because then like after they have sex is when she's like, how do you afford this fucking mansion and all this shit? And he makes all these jokes of like, oh, I'm a drug dealer, no, I'm an arms dealer, all this sort of stuff, and he just keeps giggling like, tee hee hee, I'm such a funny goofy guy. And then he like says, he's like, no, my dad's Nikolai something or other. And she's like, of course I don't know who that is, I'm American. And so she looks it up, and that's how we find out that he's an oligarch's son and all that sort of stuff. So so they hang out more. He likes hanging out with her, so he invites her to his New Year's Eve party. And it just like, it seems like he just genuinely likes her so much, and she's obviously enjoying how much he's like sharing his riches like with his friends and with her.
Yeah, for clientele, this is probably a pretty good John, all things considered.
Yeah. And she says that she goes to Lulu the next night. I think before I want to say that the dance she does at Yvonne's home is before they're like dating for the
Yeah.
week. So between that second meeting and the first one was when she tells Lulu about like who it is that she's actually seeing. And they're like more or less she's boasting about it at the club and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
And Diamond's all bitter about it.
Yeah, exactly. And so the Gen Z culture hire. Sorry, I'm seeing the Santa Cruz loser trying to stake his claim as the Gen Z lesbian of the group. You know, be proud, Santa Cruz loser. We're proud of you as the Gen Z lesbian. So yeah, so then they go to the New Year's Eve party, and it's what the next morning is when Vanya asks her to be his girlfriend for the week. And now it's kind of where I think that it's when Annie starts, even though like it is a transaction still, and he is paying her $15,000 for the week. She's kind of now starting to buy more into the role of being his girlfriend, like literally like snuggling him on the couch while he plays video games and shit.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
I know that life.
But are you getting paid $15,000 for it, Kelly?
Actually, I don't know that life. Wait a minute.
What the hell? What the hell? So yeah, she actually like takes the week off of work because obviously, like, how much there's no way she's making near that much money at her regular job. No. So then that's when she like kind of integrates into his life too, because like she's hanging out with him and his friends.
Yeah, which is who Ivy Walk is. She's like a comedian that Robbie brought up, and she's one of the.
She's really funny.
She has like the strong brow. Yeah, she's very funny. I don't know much about her, but
she is very funny. So it's I think specifically because now he's paying her not just for sex, but to like hang out and have fun. Yeah, like they're just having fun together. And so the lines get very blurred in that way.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. It kind of blurs the line from actual sex work to now almost. I mean, like, arguably all relationships are transactional. This is a little bit more, straightforward. So.
Yeah. But it's more companionship now at this point. And the fact that, like, you could see that even in later scenes that Annie, to an extent, starts to see his friends as her friends.
Yeah, definitely.
In the context of this world. Yeah. So gets very confusing very quickly.
Yeah.
Especially when they travel to Las Vegas and he asks her to marry him. Which I don't remember the specifics of why he proposed. Did he just do it?
So he was like, if I got a green card, because he was kind of like pouting about having to go back to Russia, and then he's like, well, if I got married and got a green card, then I would never have to go back to Russia. And then he was like, what if we got married? And she's kind of like, fuck you. And he's like, no, I'm serious. And then they go to Little White Chapel and they do it.
Which, again, the song Best Night of Our Lives, whatever, starts playing again, and we're like, oh, we're so young and free, and it's great and stuff.
Well, and that is kind of like, we discussed this off camera earlier, but it is kind of like when we see the power dynamic shift for Annie and Vanya, because it's like, definitely Annie seems to have the upper hand, she's selling a service that he wants.
And she's educating him through that service, literally teaching him how to have better sex and stuff like that.
In 2 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. So once they get back though, they definitely start. I don't know if living as husband and wife makes sense, but more they just keep doing more of the same thing. But now Annie does feel like, having a claim to
Yeah.
the house and
I think
everything
she
like that.
feels a bit of security, especially since it's like
Yes.
legitimized with like a ring and stuff, and she like
Hmm.
moves in. Like it's real for them, even if it's
Hmm.
still transactional. And just as Hannah said, under capitalism, all relationships are in fact transactional. So
Hmm. Yeah,
and
exactly.
they even say, because Annie leaves the club and everyone's like, oh, you caught your white
Yeah.
whale, like, so it's kind of like it's the goal, it's the dream,
Hmm.
and Annie's accomplishing it. So it's
Yeah.
hard for her not, and there was no prenup, so for her it is real.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it's like you said, it's went earlier, it's like if Pretty Woman didn't
Actually
work
went there,
out.
because yeah, that's how it was
Yeah.
supposed to end, was
Yeah.
that he was just supposed to leave and leave some cash for her, but they didn't have any
Hmm.
grit, and in Anora they had it.
Hmm.
Like they took it even
Exactly.
further because they got married to make it even more
Yeah, they made it
insulting.
real bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
real bad. But yeah, once they're back is when Yvonne's like basically caretaker in America, Toros, catches word of their marriage, and so he sends his uh Wikipedia called it his henchman, but I mean, Garnick is definitely a henchman, but it seemed like Igor was just like some guy they kind of knew that they needed an extra body.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I
So
got too. Because,
yeah, so I said like a hired hand from the neighborhood,
yeah.
basically is what Igor is. And they go to the mansion to really like figure out what's going on. And it turns into a huge confrontation because Toros says that that Yvonne's parents are going to be coming to basically get this annulled. Yvonne freaks out and literally runs away, leaving
Abandons Annie.
Annie there with
With
these
two
two
strange
men
men.
in her underwear, like
No
fucking.
less. Because
So
they
she's
weren't they
freaking
literally
out.
banging when they
They were
showed
having
up?
sex when they
Yeah.
showed up. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Little
So,
bastard.
yeah, Yvonne just fucking eats shit. um, so then, yeah, he runs, and now Annie's trying to leave as Garnick's trying to get Yvonne, but falls. And then that's when Igor and Annie start their tussle, and she really kicks the shit out of him. And so that's when it turns into, yeah, like this confrontation of him having to hold her down, and she's freaking out, rightfully so.
Yeah, of
But
course. But she's
that
holding her
scene,
own pretty good.
yeah, oh yeah, she's kicking their asses and like
Yeah.
wrecking the house. She fucking like bit him like crazy and then broke the nose and gave a concussion to Garnick.
Mm-hmm.
And but what's so
Yeah,
funny about
he's
that
like afraid of
scene?
her after that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
because like what's so funny is that so then Garnick's outside and Igor like holds her, and then Garnet comes in like, why did you tie her up? Like untie her. And he's like, don't untie her. She'll kick the shit out of you. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, untie her. Unties her, and she like then kicks the
Immediately
shit out
starts
of
kicking the
both of
shit, yeah.
them. And then when Toros comes in, he's like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? Untie her, this poor girl. And then she like beats him too. So she's a fucking dog. But that was such a good scene. It's like about 30 minutes, and I think I read that it took them about like 5 to 7 days to film it because I think it's one of the more important scenes I think
Yeah.
of the film.
I
Like it's
think it's
so well
I
done.
think it's one of the transition scenes, in my opinion, where we
Hmm.
kind of find, because it's like you said, like the music is kind of matching the theme, where it does feel like a romance, and it does kind of feel like Pretty Woman, like she is gonna have this good life, and this guy
Hmm.
really likes, and obviously it's transactional for both of them. He wants a green card to stay in America, she wants to live a lavish life, but it does seem like Vanya likes her, like, well enough.
Hmm.
She's
Yeah.
hot and bangs him, so I mean, what really more does a 21-year-old man need from a partner?
Exactly.
And then she like
Exactly.
seems to like him well enough, like she has fun with him
Hmm.
and stuff.
And he spends money on her, so it's
Right.
like she's getting what she needs out of the
Exactly.
transaction. Yeah.
But now he's abandoned her, and this is kind of when we see her start digging her heels in, like, well, this is my husband, we're in love, I might be pregnant, like, so
Hmm.
she's kind of throwing out all these things where it's like, it almost makes it seem like, or it's kind of to me reflecting that Ani bought the illusion that this is actually like genuine and trusting and respectful, whereas Vanya very much sees her as disposable.
Yes, yeah, that's a very good point. And I think this is also a point where the illusion that Annie was buying into is real is now starting to break.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such an interesting point because now about the music because I'm trying to think about like what was the music in the film like after that. Like
I don't really
if
remember
there
it.
yeah, if it was music, it was just like the kind of standard like background kind
Yeah.
of scoring. It wasn't like really, like a song taking center stage again. Like that doesn't happen in the film. It becomes much more like real and was it like diegetic is like sound that's actually in the scene that's taking place like in like the real world, whereas non-diegetic would be like the song being played over that's not actually happening in their reality but for us as the
Yeah.
viewers. So it becomes much more diegetic, which is much more like real, raw, and kind of in a way like creates kind of a discomfort, like because now our fantasy is also fading with Annie's.
And
um
yeah, we also see too, like, okay, everyone's aware Annie is a sex worker, an exotic dancer. Like, that's never, put into question. It's made very clear from the get.
mhm.
But at most, we see Vanya's friends say, like, oh, that's the escort, he
Mm.
hired. But it
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be, like, in a demoralizing way. It's just kind of like, oh,
Hmm.
that's the girl. Now now we
Hmm.
see them calling her a whore, saying that she's
Yeah,
using him for money, and so now we hear this derogatory language being thrown at her, and it
exactly.
obviously upsets Annie because yes,
Hmm.
she may be an escort, but I think that they're using that language to demoralize her and put her
Hmm.
down, and also further kind of remove the veil of what she thought was a legitimate
Hmm.
marriage.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's very pointed that I don't even think like I know that I don't think Garnick, I know Igor does not use
Never,
any of that
no, it was
language, but I think
Toros.
Toros is the one that comes in and I think he calls her first a prostitute
Mm-hmm. And she
and then a
recognized that
whore.
word. She recognized that word in Russian. She
Yeah,
was
in
like,
Russian, yeah. Exactly. Or was it it might have even been Armenian, but yeah, so he's calling her a whore, calling her a prostitute. These prostitute being especially like a very dated term.
yeah,
And then it's not until later that Vanya calls her an escort and then his
Vanya's
mother
mom
calls her a
too. Yeah,
hooker.
yeah,
Like and so, but I think at this point also though Toros criticizes Yvonne to Annie, which is like the boy that he's supposed to be like protecting, all this
yeah.
sort of shit. And he says that's a fucking great husband you have. First he ditches you, then he doesn't answer your calls. And so I think it's very interesting to me that still though even in this moment the three men that are there for Yvonne and to like protect the family reputation are like this guy's a fucking piece of shit.
Well,
Like
and he's
he
a
put you in this
child. They
situation.
even
Yeah.
clock that. They're like, the bed you've been fucking
Mhm.
in are his parents. You know what room's his? The one with
Yes.
fucking
Yeah.
spaceships on the wall.
Yep.
And yeah, I just want to acknowledge Hannah's quote, like, women put on a pedestal, but also still being disposable. It does align with Perfect Blue. And it just kind of
Hmm.
like women in general, like, it's very fleeting, you're only as
It's when it's
valuable as your beauty and youth is. So,
And then whatever is convenient for your use in that moment.
exactly.
Ugh. Yeah. So yeah, I think that Annie is able to finally they're basically able to come into an agreement, Annie and these three men, that they all need to find Yvonne and basically she's like, I just need to talk to him before the annulment and then we'll be good, whatever. And so they spend all night looking for him. He's not answering calls, all this sort of shit. They go to like track down all of his friends. I love when they go to the spot on the boardwalk and Igor just fucking start smashing glass and stuff. Like,
they're like,
that's so fun. And then he's just like playing with the bat as they walk down the boardwalk and stuff. And then when they're on the boardwalk and it gets late and he pulls out a scarf for Annie, but it's a scarf that they used to gag her with.
Yeah, she's like, what the fuck is your problem?
Yeah.
She's
so fucking funny.
She's so mean to Igor, but you see, like, he admires and, like, absolutely is developing feelings for
he's, like, in love with her almost immediately.
Yeah, because you know, she's very strong-willed. She very much, like, holds for herself. And, yeah, she is throwing the, like, my husband, we're in love thing. But I think he's also recognizing, like, the situation. Like, he is seeing, you know, they're not far removed. They're both working class people being used right now by rich people.
Yeah.
To get a job
he definitely sees their similarities as being kind of, and like, he is more aware of the situation he's coming into as like a hired hand for this situation. But to both of them, the capacity with which these people are so like cruel and out of touch is shocking and disappointing to both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Annie, it's even more shocking and it's traumatic and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, you could see Igor, like, he introduces himself to her, like, when Garnick is talking to Toros and stuff. Or I think Garnick is talking to Yvonne. And so, like, Igor and Annie are just sitting there and they're like, hi, I'm Igor, I'm Annie, or whatever. And he's just like chit-chatting with her. And so throughout the film, there's such a focus on him looking at her and like the way what his face expresses when he's looking at her. And you see that he has like, he goes through like admiration of her, like kind of like a sadness for her and like and how she's being treated. Definitely fear at some point, like when she's biting the shit out of him.
I mean, what man doesn't love a woman and fears her a little bit? It kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, he scares her and therefore he loves her.
Yeah.
So, but then the more that he becomes clearly like invested in her, throughout this evening of them searching for Yvonne, the more that she just kind of like verbally berates him, because specifically like he was the one that tied her up and all this shit. So she's like, I'm not going to sit in the back seat with this fucking creep and all this sort of stuff, and calls him some good old fashioned slurs and stuff like that.
What does what does this mean?
What does it mean? But he like, I think even while she's calling him names and stuff, it's also kind of building a camaraderie between them.
Yeah.
Because something that I read was that Mikey did a lot of like studying with people that worked in like clubs and stuff like that, like club vernacular, like the Brooklyn vernacular of like people in this kind of crowd, you know? And so oftentimes they refer to Igor as, I wrote the term down. It is, I think it's called like a gopnik, which is a member of a Russian post-Soviet suburban low-income youth subculture, often associated with petty criminality, hooliganism, and a distinct aesthetic. And I think Yvonne calls him that first when they first show up at the house. And then Annie calls him that when they're like sitting across from each other, like at dinner. And, you know, he says like, I'm not a gopnik. And Annie, so it's a similar thing where like he's being perceived as this one way and Annie's being perceived as a certain way. And they're kind of having to defend their characters more or less. Like, even though they're in these situations or do certain jobs or whatever, they're trying not to be like kind of defined by this a specific term that's labeling them.
Well, we live in an interesting culture where like we try to define people by the work that they do, but I think that, you know, especially when I was younger, that was kind of how I felt, like, oh, this person works in this kind of field, so they must be like this. But unfortunately, like the heart, especially as I get older, the reality is
Mm-hmm.
like most people's careers, whatever it may be, is just a means of survival.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
especially in a more pay discrepancy like realm where the middle
Mm-hmm.
class is virtually non-existent at this point. um,
Mm-hmm.
you really see that it's like the people with these CEO titles typically come from affluent backgrounds, or, you know, another example is like artists. Like most
Mm-hmm.
artists are nepo babies or
Mm-hmm.
people from affluent backgrounds. I mean, even like Chapel Roan just got exposed. You know, she tried to kind of have this image that she grew up impoverished, but she didn't.
Oh, I didn't
And
know that.
oh yeah, it's like
Tea.
this whole thing. She said she grew up in a trailer park, and it turned out her grandpa owned like a ton of properties and was like super well off, and like they grew up in this pretty big house. So it, you know, and
Ugh.
she's not the first to do that, and she's not the last. I mean, Kid Rock whole platform is being white trash, and he was a rich kid too. So, but you
Sick.
know, it's like we see the upper echelon of culture where they people where they kind of want to like cosplay as working class, whereas the real working
Mm-hmm.
class kind of wants to separate themselves from their jobs, because there
Mm-hmm.
does typically, as we see with what's going on in the scene in particular, like a negative connotation with it. You know, there's a huge being a sex worker. Like, I don't care how sex positive our society is. I mean, that is, you know, people absolutely, women who are on OnlyFans will lose, you know, get their kids kicked out of
Mm-hmm.
schools and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, of course there's a negative connotation with that. And then being like a goon or like, you know, a hired hand for
Mm-hmm.
violence, that's
Yeah, yeah.
obviously going to come with, and when in the reality of it is we don't know anything about these people backgrounds. More than likely this was the best opportunity they could find for themselves
Mm-hmm.
to survive.
Exactly. And especially if you take into consideration Igor, like he learns a lot of English terms over the course of the movie by
Mm-hmm.
being with Annie.
Mm-hmm.
And so clearly, like, he doesn't know a lot of English.
Yeah.
So to have this connection to this Russian family gives him more opportunity for work
Yeah.
that he might not be able to have normally without being able to speak English fluently in
That's true.
America.
Yeah. That's a
Mhm.
good point.
So yeah, I think as Igor sees their similarities and creates like he gets more admiration for her, Annie, I think maybe even subconsciously notices that camaraderie as well, but is trying to like distance herself from it as much as possible. Um, so yeah, just berating him and calling him slurs and stuff, which is funny at least. And he's like, she calls him a slur, and he looks at her with like big hearts in his eyes. So,
Like, what does that mean?
what does that mean? Tell me what it means, kicking his feet. So, they finally end up finding Yvonne at the club where he met Annie, and he's getting a lap dance from Annie's nemesis,
That
Diamond.
no good trash.
Ugh, God, that was rough. And he's too drunk to give a shit about what anyone is saying to him. And also, so this is where Annie and Diamond like have it out and actually get into a fight, which apparently the actresses like actually like got injured, and
Oh, no
Mimi
kidding.
makes his appearance. But yeah, no, they I think it was like I think Mikey an acrylic nail ripped off, and she sprained
Ow.
her ankle.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then Diamond, I forget what it was. Like,
She lost a nipple ring? No, I'm just kidding.
let's just say that that's what it was. She lost a nipple ring. But anyway, but what I thought was cute in this scene was that then Igor splits them up. Like, they're getting split up by a bunch of them, but Igor splits them up by like he comes behind Annie and like grabs her, but then like puts himself between her and
Yeah.
Diamond, and I'm like, this fucking guy is just obsessed with her. Like,
Gosh, why don't you just marry her,
like,
you big
just ask her to
loser?
marry you already. But so they get Yvonne, and he's too drunk to have that conversation with Annie that she needed before the annulment, and then they show up before the judge, and of course the judge is like, this is a fucking nightmare, and it needs to be in Vegas anyway, so all for nothing.
He's like, get this trash out of my
Yeah.
out of my courtroom.
Oh my god, it was such a mess. And then then Ivan's parent or Yvonne's parents show up, and but he's like more or less sobered up and just fully ignoring Annie. Like he pretends to be asleep so that she doesn't talk to him and stuff. Like,
well, and she has this
his
moment
face.
with him when they're supposed to get on the plane where she's like, you're an adult, we don't have to do this. And that's when we
Yeah.
really see the fucking
Mhm.
the veil, the illusion just shatter.
Yeah.
And he's
Which
like,
he's like sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say where he just basically tells her like, we're getting in the plane and we're doing this, like there's no question.
Yeah. Yeah, like so like she says to him, be a fucking man and talk to me, which is like she'll keep talking to him and he just will like put on his sunglasses, look away, all
He's
this
being
sort
a
of stuff.
child.
Yeah, and we're seeing Igor watch this happen as well. And I think this is still like throughout the film, once Igor is introduced, it's like we're kind of just inhabiting his perspective. And so it's like whatever he's expressing on his face about like disgust toward Yvonne or admiration of Annie is kind of like what we are feeling. And then but yeah, it's then when he's on the steps to the plane, he looks down over her after she says, be a fucking man and talk to me, and he says, can you understand that now we must go in the fucking plane and fly in fucking Vegas, get it? And she asks finally, so we're getting divorced. And he says, of course, are you stupid? And he then then thanks her for making his last trip to America
fun.
so fun. Like, God. I fucking hate his guts.
Well, and it's kind of like, it sucks because it's like, you kind of, I think the movie sort of from her perspective, the first half up until the shit kind of hits the fan, where it's like you kind of like Ivan, like, or Vanya. You kind of like Vanya, like he seems, he's definitely immature and young, but he's also like 21. And
he seems like he could be charming and stuff.
Yeah,
like
and he's
silly,
nice.
goofy,
He's buying her nice coats, and he's not. She says, "I want a 3-carat ring," and he's like 4. Like he.
Yeah.
He seems like relatively okay for a shitty little rich kid, and then it's like, he really just finally says like, thanks for the good time, bitch.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Just like completely clocks out and it's done. And it's so sad. And like at this point, yeah, that's a good point, Hannah. Young and dumb but genuine. This is the first time that he's like actually real, and he's a real piece of shit. And so then this is when Annie, like, I think actually turns and looks at Igor because he was standing right behind her as Yvonne was saying all of this to her. And then Yvonne's mom comes down and is basically like, get on the fucking plane. And Annie's doing her last fucking stand saying like, I'm going to hire a lawyer. Like, I didn't sign a prenup. And then the mom is like saying like, I'll take everything you have. Like, and then she's like, do you have a house? Do you own a car? And it's like, no, she doesn't even have these things.
She's just being a
like,
cunt.
Jesus, fuck, man. So yeah, so then they finally get on the plane, but and that's when Yvonne belittles the entire thing to just having fun with an escort, and it's just fucking sucks ass. But so they get to Vegas, sign the annulment, but as they leave, Igor says that Yvonne should apologize to Annie. To which Yvonne's mommy says her son apologizes to no one. And then Annie says,
such a piece of shit.
I know, right? And then Annie says, yeah, because your son is a fucking pussy. And the mom says something about her just being a hooker. And Annie says, and your son hates you so much that he married one just to piss you off.
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
And
bye-bye.
what I love about that scene, too, is the dad is just cackling.
Yes.
She's like, your family's fucked up. And he's just like, yeah, it's true.
He's like, we fucking suck ass. We're the worst. So funny. And then, of course, they fly Igor and Annie back to New York in business class with a crying baby and all that stuff. And
Just to really
back at
like
the
salt the wound.
yeah, for sure. Let's just put them in first class at least. You're an oligarch, dude. Like, what the fuck?
Well, they did that to kind of
So
take her down a notch because she was so difficult, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. So then, but and it was like Toros who did that. So he must be like he seemed so like maybe he wasn't as
He's a
terrible, but
he's a
then at the
bootlicker.
end of the day, he's a bootlicker.
He's kissing their
So
asses.
so then back at the mansion, Igor and Annie are just sitting and watching TV, which I love that they're clearly just watching like whatever's on
It's like
television, not
bullshit,
like
yeah.
yeah, like I think all we hear is like commercials. And so then they're like chatting, smoking a joint, smoking cigarettes and shit. And it was interesting because this is before I like really knew what this movie was about. I think I was listening to like NPR or some shit, and they played a clip from the movie, and they played this clip from the movie about like talking about her name and what it means. And so when he like says that he likes the name Anora more than Annie, and she's just like, who fucking asked you?
Yeah.
And I love that he continues to have a conversation with her even when she's like basically telling him to fuck off. He just continues having that conversation. And she still does engage with it in one way or another. But so he looks up her name and it means pomegranate fruit, light and bright. And but she says in America we don't care about those things like what names mean.
Yeah.
Which I think again is this like her trying to just like separate herself from him more and more. Um, but then he tells her like it's good that you're not part of this family, and she
Mm-hmm.
gets like really mad at him because I think for her she takes it as another thing of being like I'm not good enough for this family. Um, but he just says I just try to support you is his response to that, which I
Yeah.
think is just yeah like he's there for her at this point. Um, but then she really pushes him away. This is when she says like what was it? She said or he said, you know you weren't in danger, right? Like back at the
Oh,
beginning and
this scene's
stuff.
crazy.
Yeah.
She's like, why didn't you try to rape me? Basically. And
Yeah,
he's like,
she
because I'm
says
not
you
a
would have raped
rapist.
me if you had the chance. Yeah. And he said, I didn't want to rape you. And she says, why? And he says, what, why? Because I'm not a rapist.
And then she's like, no, it's
And
because you're
then
gay.
she says, no, because you're a slur ass bitch, which is what she called him earlier and stuff. And then she gives him a blanket, like the flimsiest blanket, which I just realized is a red blanket, which I think goes back to the scarf that he gave her earlier.
Yeah.
She gives him a red blanket, like the red scarf, and then she goes up to sleep in the bedroom while he sleeps on the couch in a mansion that has multiple bedrooms. So
He's fine.
he's fine. But so then they go the next morning. He takes, they get her money that they said that they would basically pay her off to just get the annulment. And oh, but I think there's that scene where Annie wakes up in the bedroom and looks out of the big windows and it's snowing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like this like another like kind of transitional moment. Like it could be like a sign of something dying with winter, but then also kind of like a rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how I saw it.
exactly. And so Igor takes her home and he gives her the ring that he lifted off of Toros before getting her bags. And this is kind of like a non-transactional act of kindness
Mm-hmm.
that seems to kind of really shake Annie. And that's when like he just goes and takes her bags up, but she doesn't get out of the car. So when he comes back, it's kind of like she needed to make that non-transactional moment of kindness a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it kind of again like breaks this illusion like and does this power shift where she's no I think she like insists on being in this position of power by like either calling him names, insulting him, or using sex.
Yeah.
And so this is when she, starts having sex with him, to which like she puts his hands on her body and stuff. But it's only when he like tries to hold her face and kiss her that she
She
starts
starts
fighting
sobbing,
him.
yeah.
Yeah, and starts sobbing and falls into him. And then the film goes black and all we hear is like the idling engine, which is just like such a sad, like hollow kind of sound at that point.
Yeah, and there's like, I think there's a lot that could be said. I mean, like it being described as like a modern Cinderella tale, or like comparing
Hmm.
it to like Pretty Woman, which I think is very comparable.
Yeah.
Uh, it's kind of taking this twist where like the harsh reality is like two wealthy people, like working
Hmm.
class people, will always be seen as something disposable. And it's even like
Yes. Yeah.
kind of a critique of like fairy tales, even. It's like we have to stop kind of peddling this on young girls, especially because the reality
Absolutely.
is like there is not going to be some man to save you and make your life better.
Hmm.
And even worse, he might just use you for some fun until it's
Hmm.
inconvenient for him and his family. Because
Yeah.
she was thwarted and disrespected in such a like traumatic way. I would
Hmm.
imagine that it's like thankfully she wasn't actually deeply in love with him or anything, but still
Yeah.
it's like I think at the very least she thought there was respect, like a mutual
Hmm.
respect, and he very much
Yeah.
showed that there was no respect for her as a person.
Yeah, he definitely made it seem like he took her profession seriously.
Yeah.
That he valued her profession and therefore valued her. And then to just cast it aside as something like fun. And to him it's that thing of like, one, money is meaningless to him, but then people also become like expendable. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's obviously a very capitalist and Marxist story in that regard, but then also that I wonder, because I think it's good that we see the commonalities between her and Igor, but then I think that, yeah, this gender plays such a huge role in it. Um, and like kind of it seems like Igor is still able to get like some amount of like respect from like Tauros and Garnick and stuff as being one of them,
Mm-hmm.
whereas she's not able to be even like one of them. She's literally like, yeah, they said that they could like basically frame, like Tauros was saying, they could frame this as if she conned this poor young man into
Mm-hmm.
marrying him and trying to steal his money.
Well, and I think that's also a play. I mean, first of all, her career doesn't help that, but any lower class woman, or just really any woman in general, we hear this narrative very regularly of gold digger, which even if the guy only has
Hmm.
$20 in his bank account, there's still this anxiety that women want to take all his riches away. And
Yeah.
you see it constantly. You see it with child support. You see, there's always this idea that women are just after men and their money. When women get divorced, they take half of everything. Not that it's
Hmm.
half of shared assets. No, she's taking half of what you made. And
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, we will always reduce women down to trying to take what is not rightfully
Hmm.
theirs.
Yeah.
Um, when really, like we see with Anora, she never really asked for money in all of this. I mean, she did do the prenup thing, which I think was just kind of like you said, a last stand for her of trying to
Hmm.
assert herself, because she is a very empowered person, and I think she's always going to put up a fight. That's
Hmm.
Anora's
Yeah.
character. But when they were saying, okay, we'll give you $10,000, that's what a green card's like worth. I think that's fair. She never asked for that.
Hmm.
I think she did want to keep the reign kind of out of principle.
Yeah.
But it is going to be nice, worth of nice chunk of change. But
Yeah.
it doesn't take away the emotional like uh trauma, and like
Hmm.
I don't know how awful it would feel to just feel completely used. Like, this is the
Absolutely.
ultimate form of objectification. This guy saw basically a pretty doll and fucked her for a couple weeks until it wasn't convenient for him anymore.
And you think of even just the whirlwind, like the absolute whiplash of like 1 week your life has completely changed from like your day-to-day life that she doesn't have a problem with. This is her life. She doesn't seem like miserable or anything. This is
No.
just her life.
Her existence. It's all she like
Exactly.
really knows.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with it. And then this guy comes along and like completely whisks her into this frenzy of money and love and fun and all this shit. You won't have to worry about anything ever again because he doesn't. So now that I'm married to him, I must not have to either. Yeah. And then within like days, he literally takes off.
Yeah.
Like
no,
leaves
absolutely.
you with 3 strange men, like in the most like, and it, like even like Igor said, like you knew you weren't in danger, right? It's like, why would she know? Like, of course she doesn't know that. Like, of course not.
She
like
had the rug completely pulled from underneath her.
It was a very traumatic experience, and then to have the life that you now thought you were going to live to the point where you quit your job.
And that's what I think about that's too. Gone. Anora gave up everything of her like well-being to be in this relationship. And it's like, I guess, you know, some people probably watch it and think like, well, that's what she gets for believing that this would be, you know, long lasting. But at the same time, she had no reason not to think. And of course, if you marry a millionaire, or even more so, I don't know how rich his family was, but obviously very rich. And, you know, there's no prenup. You'd think you're pretty secure in that. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, so to her defense, of course she'd leave the club. And now, you know, you think about all the stuff Anora has to do. Like, I'm hopeful that, you know, she doesn't have to go back to the club and ask for her job back, because I'm sure that would just be like the ultimate humiliation ritual. But also a reality is that she might have to, and that fucking sucks. Like, the whiplash of going from that to back to fucking shitty reality sucks. And,
exactly.
And Vanya just gets to go back to Russia like nothing happened and joke about it. Yeah, I married a prostitute for a couple weeks.
Exactly. And like, I think the thing too is that she wouldn't have such a huge disappointment in working that job and living the life that she has if she wasn't removed from it in this like whirlwind for like however long. Like, now that feels miserable and awful and all this stuff because she was promised something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I do love that hair tinsel's making a comeback. That was huge when I was a teenager, and it's back with a vengeance, and I kind of love it.
There at the place that I work, there is a whole floor of women that put hair tinsel in their hair, and it's like all these like middle-aged women, and it's kind of funny.
Dope in 2006, and it's
a thing. It's a thing.
Hannah made a good point where there's also the stereotype of like never marry the stripper, and it is clear that Anora does like care about Vanya to a reasonable level, and she really does try to lean into like being his wife and things like that. Yeah. And it like in the end it doesn't matter. Like you know, she's still put down and demoralized into just being, you know, some prostitute who just wanted these rich kids' money.
She's really forced to feel shame about something that she never felt shame about before.
Well, and it's not like she was the one who proposed it. She never said, let's get married. He was the one that did.
Exactly. So, fuck
Vanya.
Yvonne. Fuck Vanya.
Parents.
We love Annie, and we love Igor.
Toros can eat shit too, bootlicker.
Toros, can eat shit. Hopefully Garnick eventually made it to the hospital.
I hope so. He was not doing well.
He was not doing well.
And they just gave him some Adderall, and they were like, good luck. Was that what it was, Adderall?
I don't know what it
Maybe
was. Igor got like... I think it was Oxy or something. Yeah, it was from his grandma, because then when Annie wanted some, he was like, no. And she's like, why? And he's like, I'm not a drug dealer. It's just like, and then she's just insisting on him being whatever she assumed he was as like a drug dealer and stuff like that. It's such a good movie. I'm excited to watch it again. And yeah, that's Anora.
That's Anora.
But we're doing a roast next week, right?
We are. I'm so excited. We're doing Face Off.
We're doing Face Off, starring
Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
We had a yap sesh a few weeks ago where we were talking about John Travolta movies, and I think George just kept saying "say Face Off" in the chat. So now we're doing Face Off for George. Assuming that's the movie he was referencing, maybe it was a totally different one, and he's going to resent me for doing Face Off and not that movie. But
I mean,
Face Off.
I've definitely seen Face Off, and boys love it. That's a movie boys love. I will say.
Okay, so next week's for the boys. I think that we hopefully we'll get all the boys back in the chat.
Serious shit.
Oh yeah, the week after Face Off is going to be
it's a tough
heavy.
One.
It's a tough one. Well, let's just say it now so that people can have more time to watch it. So next week is Face Off. The week after we're going to do the Florida Project. So such a good movie. Very heavy movie. Give yourself some time to watch it, but it's such a good watch. Another movie that has a very beautiful ending, I think.
Yeah, I guess in the illusion.
Cinematically, it's a very beautifully
sad.
It's not a happy. It's a very beautifully done ending. Like similar to Anora, just a beautifully done ending.
Agreed.
So yeah, did we pick a quote for Face Off or signing off?
I can pull one really quick if you
want. I think it's is it mine for Face Off?
Yeah.
Oh, it is mine. I thought it was gonna be you.
There's a good one here. Do you want me to pop it in
yeah, doc? Put it in the doc. Surprise me with it.
Okay, hold on, everyone. Just wait.
Hold on, everyone. This is really important, guys. This is really important for a Face Off. Okay, put it at the top. Okay.
There's two options for you.
I'll eat them. I'll eat them both. I'll read them both. I could eat a peach for hours, and if your ego gets any bigger, there's not going to be any room for us in the hallway.
I feel like that's a real quote from those two actors just being in a room together.
Probably.
All right. Well, until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.